Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Havoc and Chaos Live, a small glimpse into the batshittery we call news. And warning, I do swear, and I'm very excitable. So, if four-letter words or longer offend you, you may want to go listen to something else. As many of you already know, I have a keen interest in what I call demons, deliverance, and exorcism. It was this mindset many moons ago that nearly killed me. Not in a physical sense per se, but psychologically. So when this headline,
Ex-Satanist, babies ritually aborted for the devil,
with the undertitle of
Your hands have to get bloody,
hit my newsfeed, well, you can imagine my ire and disgust. Zachary King is a Catholic wannabe version of Mike Warnke, and believes that satanic rituals are being performed at your local abortion clinic. In other words, Planned Parenthood. Why does he believe so? According to the article's author,
King said he was hired to be there, casting his spells by the abortionist.
Quoting King directly,
You have to be part of the procedure. They have hired you to perform a satanic spell, and in order for that to happen, your hands have to get bloody. My left hand guided the way, and the right hand had a scalpel. The women never winced or anything. Both hands were bloody. I participated in about 141 abortions. I doubt my actions actually killed any children, but I was still there.
Holman continues.
He said, referring to King, the women whose abortions he attended would get pregnant with the intent of killing their unborn baby as a sacrifice to Satan.
So, the women knew why I was there. They know there's a satanic ritual going on. In 1987, at the age of 19, I became a high wizard, and I did my last abortion in 1997. From the time I was 14 to age 19, I did probably 5 of them. So I did a bit of digging. The interview originated with Michael Hitchborn of the Lepanto Institute. It was then reported on by LifeNews.com, independent news agency devoted to reporting news that affects the pro-life community. It finally reached Leo Holman of World Nut Daily, but his article is just a repetitious bunch of junk with no fresh perspective or novelty. Now, I'm not going to get into the differences between theistic and atheistic forms of Satanism, nor any of the other batshittery that always surrounds this topic, i.e. Hitler, Manson, Mengele, and Margaret Sanger. They always seem to make an appearance from the religious fucktards. But I want you to think about what he said, and how fucking stupid it is. It is a point our very own heretic woman made before she was banned and her comments deleted. Satanists, 1, don't have covens. 2, although not mentioned in Holman's article, King states in the original interview, I have been in the World Church of Satan. Okay, I've never seen such a reference to said organization, nor have I been able to find any references to such. What the fuck is a high wizard? For an example, I looked at the Church of Satan's hierarchy, and they have no such thing. There are no substantiated claims of human sacrifice by any satanic group, ever. And what the fuck is a non-medical person doing in an operating theater? Another point, exactly what type of abortion was he providing? My left hand guided the way, and the right hand had a scalpel? And this last one is kind of self-explanatory. I doubt my actions actually killed any children, but I was still there. Think on that. So, dude can't even seem to get his terminology correct, let alone provide any evidence that these satanic rituals are occurring besides the fact that abortions do take place. The author doesn't do much better, relying on innuendo and rumor.
In December 2010, LifeSite News, a pro-life website,
published a profile of Abigail Seidman, who from the age of 10 was working in an abortion clinic managed by her mother, a nurse.
Just on a side note, King can't seem to get his narrative correct either. One minute he's in an operating room, the next it's some farmhouse that has surprisingly more sterile than many of the other abortion clinics I had done abortions in. Also note, this comment is referencing his first abortion. One I did when I was about 3 months before turning 15. But that really is not my interest. It's the hyperbole, god-awful rhetoric being spouted by these insane lunatics that bothers me. So with that said, a little backstory for context and understanding my interest. Flashback to the early 80s and the mentality that originally sucked me in. Jack Chick and his Chick Tracks, James Dallas Egbert III mess, William Deere, who wrote about Egbert, Rona Jaffe, she wrote Mazes as Monsters, also based on Egbert. We have Patricia Pulling, she's a mother of another D&D victim. She went on to found Bothered About Dungeons and Dragons. She also wrote The Devil's Web, Who is Stalking Your Children for Satan. During that time period, she became president of the National Coalition on TV Violence. Then there's fellow National Coalition on TV Violence psychiatrist Thomas Radecki. We have former Satanic High Priest John Todd. We have former Satanic High Priest Mike Warnke, author of The Satan Seller. And, by the way, he's trying to make a comeback. And last but not least, our favorite, Tipper Gore. She formed the Parents Media Resource Center. That's the group responsible for the parental advisory stickers found on music because of not to be outdone, we also have the other panic, satanic ritual abuse. Three people I'm familiar with. We have psychiatrist Lawrence Pastor and his patient and then-to-be wife, Michelle Smith. They co-wrote a book called Michelle Remembers, a supposed account of Michelle's childhood victimization. Lawrence Stratford, aka Laurel Rose Wilson, she wrote Satan's Underground, the extraordinary story of one woman's escape. She claimed to be a breeder for satanic groups, birthing babies to be sacrificed and eaten. And here I thought we had a monopoly on that. And then last, Doris Sanford and Gracie Evans, also authors. They wrote Don't Make Me Go Back, Mommy, a child's book about satanic ritual abuse. And if you're interested, I will have in the show notes links to pretty much everything mentioned. So why is this a problem? It's this sort of Christianist masturbation fantasy that still exists. Its promulgators think that the rubes will actually believe it. And as Deb and I found, the religious fucktards soak this shit right up. And I'm not just talking the Christo fascists either. Now, imagine being 19 years old, away from home, in a heavily fundamentalist atmosphere. Imagine having a mental illness, but not knowing you have a mental illness. Imagine having psychotic episodes, delusions of grandeur, uncontrollable mood swings, all fueled by an addiction to Tylenol 3s, which eventually led to Oxycontin. Imagine being a cutter, but not knowing why. Now add to that a culture where mental illness is perceived as a spiritual issue that can be solved by prayer and Bible study. Sound familiar? That it's Satan and his minion demons and those he controls that are the cause of all your woes. Then add to that a jackass named Bob Larson. Yes, the current master of Skype exorcisms and the brains behind Team Exorcists. I think without much help you can see where this is going to lead, because it's still happening today. Yes, I'm an exorcism survivor. Now, there's a lot of small detail in discussing Larson, which I'm going to avoid. Suffice to say, Larson actually performs, in modern parlance, what's called deliverances, not the rite of exorcism. No, he was not present, but his early teachings, along with the hype mentioned above, were influential. Yes, I have met Larson, and I have heard him speak. I was also an avid fan of his 2-hour weekday call-in show, Talk Back. I don't think I ever called in, or at least I don't remember doing so. And I have read many of his books, and so on. I say I'm a survivor because it didn't kill me, but the aftermath nearly did. I say survivor because today many individuals subjected to this type of crazy talk don't, and that fucks me off. Over the course of the past 5 years, I have posted numerous stories concerning this demon's deliverance and exorcism fad, and the false narratives behind it. People say that religion doesn't result in harm, but I beg to differ. Christianity is dying a slow death, and the Christianists don't like it. They don't like the idea of their way of life, their dominance of the way things ought to be, their beliefs becoming extinct. Towards the end of the article, Zachary King said Satanism, in the same way abortion and homosexual rights activists have mainstreamed their ideas, is unveiling its true agenda in increments. It's becoming more popular because, remember, Satan has removed himself from the picture in many respects, trying to prove he doesn't exist. So many people think of Satan as the character the church invented to keep people in line, and then you look at everything else that's ramped up. It's the same way with abortion and Satanism. Everything satanic is coming out into the open. They're not denying it anymore. They're not hiding it in the basements and out in the woods anymore. It's just out in the open like everything else. And that, my friends, is the crux of the whole matter. The political agenda aside, they do not want their beliefs challenged. They do not want people to think for themselves. They just want happy little sheep. Oh, the money's not too bad either. And now that I have completely depressed you, or better yet, fucked you off, let's get back to the show and our guest from Waiting for Wrath.